I'll tell you a real life story and then I'll be done with this. But there's a woman I knew who had a boyfriend who was a great football player, and he was so good he left college a year early and he went to go play for the Seahawks. And so she married him, and he didn't understand that the NFL is not a dream. There's nothing wonderful about going to the NFL for 90% of the players. NFL, the average career span of an NFL player. Does anybody know how many of y'all know the average career span of an NFL player? How long is that? It's about 2.3 years. 2.3 years. So NFL doesn't stand for National Football League. It stands for not for long. It's just really a space where you're not going to be there very long. And now it might be 3 years now or something, but it's very, very short. So this idea that somehow you should dedicate your life to this career that where you're going to be a 25-year-old retiree is that's just flawed economic thinking from the beginning. Like there's nothing about going to the NFL that says you're going to be set for life. There's nothing about that for 90% of the players, 95%. So she married this guy. He leaves college and goes to the NFL. He thinks he's gonna be the next, Tom Brady or something, and it doesn't happen like that. He plays about a season and a half, and then he gets injured, and then they released him. So again, with him being 24 years old, with all this potential and all this energy, he's thinking it's only a matter of time before somebody picks him up. So he's not trying to invest in any other part of his life. He's not trying to build a second career. He's not trying to start a business. He's working out and he's training, and the rest of the time he's just sitting by the phone, waiting for somebody to call. Well, over time, nobody calls. He realizes nobody calls. And now here's the other thing that was going on. Because the NFL requires so much on your body, he'd formed an addiction to painkillers because you get so desperate to hold on to this thing. Think about this. You're not just holding on to a football career, you're holding on to your identity. Your whole life since Pee Wee League, since you were 7, you identified yourself as an athlete. So the death of your football career is like the death of everything that you know about yourself. You don't even know who you are anymore if you're not on the field. That's a terrible, terrible feeling. So he's sitting at home, nothing to do. It's popping painkillers, waiting for somebody to call. Nobody calls. He's more depressed, so he's drinking and taking the pills, and then becoming just a terrible husband. Right? If you ever want to have a terrible spouse, go marry somebody that's got a problem with drugs and alcohol. The 4 vices that destroy a man typically are drugs, alcohol, sex, and gambling. Those are the 4 things. If they're not done in moderation, they will destroy him. So tell your sons this. So so she's coming. So now, mind you, while he's waiting for the phone to ring, she's at work. She's working 2 jobs to pay all the bills. So think about this. She thought she was signing up for this beautiful, extraordinary life where they're going to have all this money and yachts and travel around the world. But instead, she's working 2 jobs, pretty much like a single mom, taking care of their baby and taking care of the big baby that's sitting there with the liquor bottle in his hand in front of the TV, waiting for the Seahawks to call him back. So eventually, that creates a dysfunction in the marriage. He starts to beat her up, and every now and then they get in a big fight. He's been drinking, so he punches her or whatever. Because also he's an NFL player, which let's not forget, he's probably got brain damage by now. They don't get the brain damage when they get to the NFL; they get it in like the 5th grade. That's what all the CTE experts are concluding, that literally playing high school football will give you a lifetime of brain damage. Forget NFL, college, all that. So he's got the brain damage. He's an alcoholic. He's a drug addict. He's got no job. He's sitting home waiting for her to come home every day so they can fight and he can beat her up because he's depressed. He's sad. That's another thing. If you want to have a terrible marriage, marry somebody who just hates their life, who's sad about everything. That's just, and then blames you for it. Anybody ever go through that? Anybody ever seen that before? Anybody ever seen that up close? I hope I'm not. I hope I'm not getting too close to home for anybody. And so eventually she ends up divorcing him and all this other stuff. And I thought that was just an interesting thing to see in terms of how sometimes we're chasing the wrong dream. That's my point. Sometimes what we think something is isn't what it actually is. And I would encourage you to chase dreams that make more sense